Okay, so let's move on now to the cosmic calendar. So we're talking about the last week of August, and then the waxing moon phase moves into the sort of the beginning of September. So if we start here with the new moon in Virgo, we can see that on the same day we have this, the square between the sun and the moon and Mars, and we also have the square with Venus and Uranus. So as I said, this does have the potential to create some tension, particularly around sort of like issues around independence and freedom, but also sort of there can be an unpredictable element, or we can have sudden breaks, or like breakups or disruptions sort of happening, say to a creative project, or that kind of thing, but not easy energy. And then kind of on the 28th, the opposition between Venus and Saturn comes into full play. But I mean, essentially, this is connected energy, this 27th, 28th. So when Venus is opposing Saturn, you can sometimes find you have a kind of a pause in your social calendar, or you may feel a little bit lonely. You might feel as though all your friends and social contacts are kind of not available, or loyalties may be kind of called into question. Loyalties, or sort of whether someone's committed to something, because Saturn is very often about making commitments or promises. So, I think not easy energy to kind of move through, but once we do, I think, we kind of start to move into a lot easier energy, particularly at the beginning of September. So moving into the following week, we've got two very minor aspects. We've got a quincunx between the Sun and Jupiter, which should be quite upbeat and sort of optimistic. It does often ask us to make adjustments, but these may not necessarily be difficult adjustments that feel terribly uncomfortable, in order to sort of either expand our horizons or to feel more kind of confident and optimistic. So just a kind of a pivot in terms of our perspective may be sufficient to sort of move us into happier energy. And then on the 31st, we have a similar aspect, a quincunx between Venus and Neptune, and this can sometimes make us a little bit gullible or impressionable, or sort of we may want to sort of over-compromise, and I think this keys into what I was talking about in terms of being discerning, particularly when it comes to money, relationships, and things like creative projects. So being discerning about who you want to work with, who you want to partner with, what is going to be beneficial or advantageous to you, rather than ending up being too expensive on one level or another. Sometimes it can be about escapism as well. We may have a tendency to want to sort of like, watch box sets all day, or just not be very down to earth. And so that's just something to bear in mind, that this may not be the day to sort of try and sort of do anything too details oriented, because you might not be like in the mood for it, essentially. And then Thursday we move into much more buoyant energy with that sextile between Mars and Jupiter. So really, really upbeat, buoyant, very enthusiastic energy. This is kind of, the waggy dog kind of vibe. So this is a beneficial time for anything that requires confidence, energy, and often focus. So we tend to be quite confident and optimistic. It's very go-getting energy. But as I said, we do need to bear in mind that Jupiter's in Aries and Mars is in Gemini, so there might be a tendency to want to start things but not necessarily finish them, and that might be just something to bear in mind, as we kind of move through the rest of the 2 weeks. That because we are in new moon energy, you ideally want to sort of focus your kind of efforts on something that is going to yield results ultimately. You don't necessarily want to kind of keep starting things and never get anywhere. So I think it's about choosing your not choosing your battles, but just being, again, discerning about what it is that you want to sort of really plow your energy into, because you'll have a lot more physical energy and sort of enthusiasm than usual, and obviously it's better to be sort of constructive with that, rather than sort of just waste that energy away, if you know what I mean. And then on Friday we've got a quincunx between Venus and Pluto. So again, interactions with others could be a little bit intense. It's good to be honest and to sort of like also allow other people to express their truth, but again, preferably not in a sort of a cruel or a savage or a manipulative way, with Pluto in the mix. Trying to sort of stay away from control issues, and trying to be empowered and to empower others, that kind of thing. So more about kind of getting more honest and real rather than subtly manipulating, if I can put it that way. And then on Saturday, we have an opposition between Mercury and Jupiter. So again, this can be a bit tricky. This tends to make us, as I say, overly opinionated. We can sort of give unsolicited advice to others. We may also kind of mentally expand to the point where, we feel like we're having mind-blowing experiences. The circuits sort of blow a little bit because there's too much information that we're trying to sort of process. So over assimilation. We can also have an interest in learning and travel, but sometimes it can tend towards overconfident judgments. As I say, this energy sometimes can make us bite off more than we can chew, sort of, particularly when it comes to, Mercury ruled things. So self-expression, travel, interactions with others, etc. And then the following week, Venus moves into Virgo on the 5th. Venus is considered to be, I think, detrimented in this particular sign. So it doesn't always work like 100%, but nonetheless, I think it does allow you to sort of seek meaningful relationships that have a kind of a practical basis. So it's great for partnerships and collaborations of all kinds. You can also enjoy detailed and analytical conversations, or kind of, nerd out together on your sort of secret, like, love of, I don't know, whatever it is, some very obscure and sort of like, kind of personal hobby or interest, that kind of thing. It's also great for sort of scheduling visits to people who can give you advice, who can help you to be more discerning. So like a lawyer or a financial advisor or a counselor or an editor if you're a writer, something like that. And of course, this energy will be in play right through until the 29th of September. So, it's not necessarily just related only to Monday the 5th. It sort of talks about basically the whole of September. And then we don't really have a lot happening until we get to the end of the week, where the sun makes a quincunx to Chiron. And this is really lovely energy. This is about kind of spiritual awakenings. We can often have healing dreams. Memories may kind of come back to, not necessarily to haunt you. You might have a sense of nostalgia. But very often it can be energy that can help you to sort of to heal like past traumas and hurts, particularly related to sort of like male figures, because the sun does tend to be about sort of male energy. And then on Friday the 9th, we have a lovely quincunx between Venus and Jupiter. So again, the urge to be hedonistic may be quite strong, and it might be difficult to sort of concentrate on work because you might feel a little bit distracted. But nonetheless, quite pleasurable energy, and I'm sure that Friday evening will be pleasant. And you might find that you have to change your plans a little bit with the quincunx. There's always this element, as I say, of adjustments being needed, but nonetheless, I think it's overall quite a positive energy. And then of course we get to the 10th, and when Mercury stations. So just something to be aware of, as I say, with Mercury stationing, that you might want to kind of get things done in the 2 weeks prior to this. You might want to lock down contracts or settle disputes, or negotiate certain details, kind of get down to the fine print before Mercury retrogrades, because otherwise the chances are that you will be sort of like reviewing and rehashing, and sort of, or that people could renege on sort of promises made. So just, something to kind of be aware of. So that's kind of it, as I say, short and sweet, which I think is in keeping with this, the energy of this particular new moon. But I hope this has been helpful, and I wish you well for the next 2 weeks of this waxing moon phase, and I'll see you again at the full moon in Pisces.